Hello, in today's video, we're going to be going over Is It the Worth Grind series, and we're going to be going over Are the Royal Navy ships worth grinding? So, we're going to be going over all of the tech tree ships for the Royal Navy, and we're going through and talking about each of the lines, their strengths, and their weaknesses, and if the lines are worth it or not worth it. So, I'll be having all of the lines timestamped in the description, so you guys can go to the lines that you're interested in at any time. So let's get started. The first line we're going over is going to be the Daring line. The Daring line I would highly recommend, and I'm going to explain why. The Daring line itself is a very strong, really beginner-friendly line. It's very forgiving due to its fast reloading smokes and hydro. So I highly recommend if you haven't somehow played them yet. So I'll talk about the utilities and the guns of this ship, everything that makes it special. So the Daring line itself gets short burst smoke. So pretty much it allows you to enter and leave engagements really easily. It has 3 kilometer hydro. So really nice to spot torpedoes or push into smoke for other destroyers, as well as a heal. So all around very versatile in what you have. The Daring itself has 360 turrets on all three, so you can easily dodge and weave back and forth while keeping all your guns in the fight, which is very important. Also to note, starting on the tier 9 of the Daring line, it gets special short fuse AP, which means that it's more likely to pin on destroyers and cruisers, so you'll be doing more damage. So a lot of Daring or Jutland players, you'll see them using AP on broadside destroyers, and they'll do massive damage, like 3, 4, 5k salvos on destroyers, do heavy damage. And the HE is also really good on this ship as well. The ship also gets 10 torpedoes that are 10 kilometer range, and they can be shot in single file line. So pretty much if you see a ship sitting in iron bow in, you can single fire those torpedoes like a Congo line and pretty much dev strike them, and it's very beautiful to see it. The ship with that Hydra is also really nice with its depth charges to run down any submarines if you are lucky enough to catch it. Because the ship is quick. It is 37 knots, but a lot of submarines are quicker than it, unfortunately. But if you do happen to catch something like a Thrasher or another slower submarine like I-56, then yeah, you'll have a really fun time killing them. The Daring line also gets British acceleration, which means that it speeds up quicker, so it makes it better at dodging incoming fire and dodging incoming torpedoes as well. So makes the line even more maneuverable with its very tight turning radius and great rudder shift. So overall, a very maneuverable line. For concealment, let me just put this on here so you guys can see the concealment. It goes down to 6 kilometers, which is really good for tier 10 destroyers. So overall, I say this is a really good beginner line. All of the ships are really decent. The Daring, the Jutland, the Lightning, the Jervis. These are all very strong destroyers. I highly recommend going down this line as a destroyer beginner line. It teaches you the basis of the game. Good HE, good AP, has good torps, has a quick smoke so you can enter and leave engagements with relative ease. Even though it doesn't have the best anti-air, you are able to use that quick action smoke to kind of just go dark and leave the area, and then if it comes back, you just pop another one. So highly recommend the Daring line. Moving on to the Daring line, we got to talk about the Minotaur line. Minotaur. So do I recommend the Minotaur? Yeah, I'll say yeah, but it's very difficult to play. So I do recommend it, but it's very difficult to play due to its large citadel. As you can see, yeah, most of the ship is a citadel. So be careful or you're gonna get dev struck. Definitely be careful. You can either play this ship as a smoke or a smoke farmer sitting in smoke using your amazing AP. The Minotaur has short fuse AP with improved ricochet angles, so you're able to do a lot of damage to anything that you hit. As long as you are pinning them, you'll be doing a lot of damage. It does have a weakness though, which is bow in targets. So if someone's bow into you or showing their butt to you and aft, it's going to be very hard to do damage. But if someone's showing their side to you or broadside to you, you will be doing massive damage. The ship also has 16 torpedoes with a 10-kilometer range, and it does have a 9-kilometer concealment. So even if you aren't firing your guns, you can use your torpedoes as you're like hiding off an area, and you are able to launch those torpedoes and do a lot of damage. For maneuverability, it's pretty quick for a cruiser, 35 knots. The Minotaur line also gets that British acceleration, so the whole line is very maneuverous, speeds up very quickly, and with that tight turning radius, it makes the whole line very maneuverable for throttle juking and rudder juking in case you're in the open, you're spotted. So it's very useful to dodge and make sure you don't get death struck. Anti-air is actually one of the strongest in the game, 6.9 kilometers. CVs are forced to leave your area pretty quickly. If they don't, they're going to be taking a lot of damage and losing a lot of their planes. The Minotaur itself does have a super heal as well. Very nice with the fact of how squishy it is. So even if you do lose a lot of health, you can heal a lot of it back. It does get a 5-kilometer hydro and a 3.5 spotting for torpedoes. So if there's a destroyer in smoke, you can push that, or you can use your hydro when you're farming in your smoke to not take any damage. Not taking damage, well, to be able to dodge the torps. But yes, you are able to pick surveillance radar, which is 10 kilometers, or smoke. So it depends upon your playstyle. If you want to be more of a destroyer hunter, you can do that with the surveillance radar. If you want to be more of a farmer for cruisers, battleships alike, you can use the smoke generator. There is also a legendary mod for the Minotaur that you can get in the Research Bureau, and I have a video for that. It makes it where the smoke is kind of a moving smoke because of just how long the consumable action time is. You kind of just move around for a very, very, very long time with that smoke. It's just insanely long smoke. It allows you to be more maneuverable with your smoke rather than its original activation time. So overall, I would say Minotaur, I would recommend it, but it's just a very hard play style to play. So if you want to do that, and it's very, it's like a adrenaline junkie, right? You can get those really, really good matches and not get death struck, or those really, really good ones, or you just get death strike instantly. So like that, a little bit of adrenaline rush, high skill level difficulty, then I would say I'd recommend it for veteran players that are looking for a challenge, or middle newer players that are looking for a challenge. For the whole line itself, as you can see here, the Edgar is also very strong as well. Neptune is good. Edinburgh is good. Fiji is good. Pretty much the whole line itself is really good. The problem is it's just a higher skill level line. So there's that. The Edgar itself is a very strong super ship. I'll take a look at it and pour for you guys and take a quick peek. The super ship itself, it's very similar to the Minotaur, just a very similar version. It does have one more turret than the Minotaur, because the Minotaur itself has 10 guns on it, while the... Where is it at? Where'd it go? Okay. Where are you hiding? The Edgar itself has 12. And the main difference between the two is that the Minotaur has short fuse AP, while the Edgar does not. So the Minotaur is very strong against destroyers because the AP will arm, while the Edgar's AP will not arm on destroyers, so it's a lot harder to kill destroyers in the Edgar. The Edgar does get 12-kilometer torpedoes. It has about the identical concealment for the Minotaur. It's pretty much identical in every way except for what I just said with the guns and the torpedo range. It does have stronger anti-air. It does have a burst fire mode that increases the AP shell damage, as well as increase the penetration capability of the guns, so you're able to pin deeper into battleships or cruisers to do a lot more damage. So there is that as well. But yes, that is my review for this tech tree line for the Royal Navy. Moving on is the next line for the Royal Navy. It is going to be the Goliath line. And let's just put this simply. No, I do not recommend the Goliath line. And I'm going to explain for a few reasons why. I think the Goliath line itself is rather bland and boring to play nowadays. It's nothing really wrong with it balance-wise. I would say only play it if you really like playing the Royal Navy ships. The guns themselves are really good. They do they do very strong HE damage, really good alpha for that. AP's okay as well. Um, Range is okay as well. The survivability in this ship is good, pretty tanky. Armor is going to be the standard armor of the British, where it has a very raised up citadel. So you got to be careful of that, or you're going to be dust struck. But my my opinion of the whole line is that the moment this line came out a couple years ago, it just got instantly power crept the moment it came out. And this line itself isn't bad. It's just compared to the other lines that kind of have the same role as a kiting cruiser, they just do a better job than the Goliath can. Goliath is just really squishy. Even though it has a super heal, and all these ships have a good heal, and those ships overall are very strong. They have a super heal. You have a hydro or a DFA. Of course, I'm going to do hydro. It's just that in today's meta, the Goliath just doesn't do very well. And you do also have the single fire torpedoes of the British, so you get a total of 8 torpedoes. You do get really good anti-air on this ship as well. Maneuverability, not the quickest, 34.7 knots. You can build that up. Watch, it says actually as far as you can go. Never mind. Concealment's actually pretty decent as well. It goes down to about 11 kilometers. So overall, it's just more of like a bland, boring line to play compared to the other ones. So if you really like Royal Navy ships, then I would definitely recommend it for that reason. But other than that, I just think the line itself just got power crept the moment it came out. And it's really sad because back when it came out, it was fun to play, but within a month, the line just got power crept, and it just wasn't really worth playing as much anymore compared to the others. So I wouldn't recommend it. Moving on, let's talk about the big HE monster itself, the Conqueror. The Conqueror, highly recommend. Essentially the easiest battleship line to play, with very powerful HE and a super heal. It does lead to bad habits though, like only spamming HE, but it is very useful for setting fires missions. Pretty much what this thing specializes in is HE throwing, and that is the whole line. That goes all the way down here, as you can see here, pretty much starting at like Queen Elizabeth, King George, Monarch, Lion, Conqueror, and even Devastation. You're throwing HE pretty much throughout all of them. The super heal does start at the Monarch and goes down to the Lion and the Conqueror and the Devastation, of course. I would say the roughest ship at this line, a lot of people don't like the Lion. I could be wrong on that. I remember the Lion, some people saying it was pretty painful. The Monarch got a buff, so it's not as bad as it used to be. But some people have been saying that the Lion's pretty painful, but I can't put my finger on it. If the Lion itself is really painful, it could be the gun angles. But if someone in the comments could write down if the Lion is the painful one. But I do remember that the Monarch used to be the most painful, but then they gave it a super heal, they buffed it a little bit, and it wasn't as bad as it used to be. But overall, this whole line itself is very easy. The guns on all the ships are very strong HE with a very high fire chance. And I'll talk about the guns for a minute here. So the guns on the Conqueror are 419 millimeters. They have a 48% fire chance, by the way, and make sure there's no fire flags. So no fire flags, 48% fire chance, right? Very, very, very high. Pretty much if you don't set a fire, you're kind of getting cooked by RNG. Essentially, these shells are just massive just HE bombs. When you're hitting a battleship, cruiser, DD, you name it, you're doing massive damage. You can do like 15, 16k salvos with HE on battleships. You can just do massive damage. The AP itself isn't the best. It is short fuse AP, so less likely to Citadel, but it does have more pin damage, so it just kind of depends. At longer distance, AP does bad, so it's better to use HE. This whole line is specialized in long range HE combat where you're just setting permafires and just farming enemies for days. So you're not supposed to get close. Even though the ship does have super heal, your main goal is to farm. You're whittling your team's health down, making them run their heals and their damage control parties. It's a good way to learn the importance of HE with AP. So with the Conqueror, you're learning how important HE is in the game for burning through heals or making people burn damage control parties. While other lines can teach you more of the importance of AP, this is a really good line to teach the importance of HE and your ability to switch between HE and AP at times. Because you are going to be using HE a lot of the time, but sometimes you will be using AP on the line. So I would highly recommend the Conqueror. Very good beginner line, as well as being one of the easiest battleships to play in World of Warships. So moving on from the Conqueror, let's talk about the St. Vincent. Now, the St. Vincent is the newer line in the Royal Navy. Let's take a look at it right here. So the St. Vincent's right here, going down the line here, right next to the Conqueror. Also, the Devastation, I highly recommend as well. Very amazing. Very, 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 very amazing. So going down here, as you can see, you have a Tiger, Renown, Rook, Hawk, Duncan, and St. Vincent. There's a lot of specialties with these ships. There's a lot of them. So first off, you get a super heal, you get a engine boost, and you get DFAA. So all very important tools. The armor on the ship itself is okay. 25 millimeters on the bow and aft, 40 millimeter deck. So pretty good on that as well. But I would say, yes, I would highly recommend the St. Vincent line. The whole line itself is very, very mobile battle cruisers with hard-hitting guns and a super heal. The tier 8 through 9 are very squishy broadsides, though, but otherwise tanky enough. With this line itself, they come with 457 millimeter guns. That the AP is pretty much just cruiser dev striking machines. If you hit a destroyer, you're going to be doing massive damage because you do get special AP on this ship, and they just hurt a ton. You also get really funny wiggly torpedoes on the bow that are nuclear torpedoes. If you look right there and see how much damage they do 29,000 damage and have a 10-kilometer range. And they also have a very quick reload. So the torpedoes launch off of the bow like here and here. And they have a very wide angle for their torpedoes. So you can use a set off of here aiming like at this tugboat here, and then you can angle yourself here, like make the ship turn left, and you can use your other torpedo. So if there's somebody within 10 kilometers of you, you can keep launching those torpedoes as you push them and do massive damage with those torpedoes. A lot of fun. Highly recommend it just for the whole meaning of that. And the ship itself is very mobile, 34 knots, tight turning radius for what it is. And it does get the special British acceleration. I did forget to mention that on the Minotaur line and the Daring, but they do have special acceleration for them that make them quicker to speed up. So it's easier for them to dodge incoming shells and maneuvering and dodging torpedoes. Concealment's okay as well on the ship, but if you're looking for a mobile, heavy-hitting battle cruiser line, then I would definitely recommend the St. Vincent. All right, so we've gotten through the surface ships of the line. It's now time to talk about the aircraft carrier and the submarine of the Royal Navy. So as you can see here, we have starting at the Hermes, going down the Furious, Implacable, Audacious, and the Eagle. I'm going to say no. I don't think it's worth getting. Like, it's easy to use the CV, but it's rather weak compared to the other CV lines. Like, the Eagle itself is good, like the Super CV is good, but the other CVs are bad compared to the other aircraft carrier lines. So I'd only recommend, if you have free XP the line, and just buy the Eagle itself directly, like the super ship directly. But the line itself is just very painful to play in the WoW's meta nowadays, and it's just going to get out DPM farmed It's not going to be able to survive the battle if the CV tries to snipe it. It's just not going to survive very long. It's just been out power crept over time, and I wouldn't recommend grinding this line at all. I'll talk about the line a little bit. You do get HE attack fighters, which are great against destroyers. The torpedoes themselves are great against cruisers, battleships. The torpedoes, let me check the speed real quick. The torpedoes are going to have very difficult time hitting destroyers because of how slow they are, but they'll do good against cruisers and battleships. For the HE bombers themselves, these carpet bombers do really good against destroyers, cruisers, and battleships. Pretty much this whole line specializes in starting fires. That's your main thing. You're starting fires and being able to go back and just do heavy HE damage over and over and over again, and then using your torpedoes when they do damage control party to then get a perma flood. That's kind of what you're doing there. Or you're putting heavy pressure on the destroyers with the attack fighters and the carpet bombers. Or people just sit at islands. If people are sitting at islands, those carpet bombers will do wonders to putting perma fires on them for sure, 100%. So I wouldn't recommend the Audacious line itself. The Eagle itself, yes, I would highly recommend it. Highly recommend the Eagle itself. It has 3 special squads with very hard-hitting attack fighters, hard-hitting torpedoes, and hard-hitting bombers for the specialty squads. So highly recommend the Eagle itself. All right, moving on. Let's talk about the final line for the Royal Navy. Where is it? Okay, here it is. But yeah, if you guys have any questions or concerns about either the lines, definitely let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, so moving on. The final line is the Thrasher. Do I recommend the Thrasher line? No. No, I do not. You do start at Udine, or the HMS Squidward is what people call it, because of that giant snout. It has a very, very big snout. Look at that sniffer. That thing is massive. Woo! Big old sniffer. But yeah, giant sniffer. But yeah, you have the Udine, Sturdy, and Thrasher. But no, I don't really recommend the line. It's slow, and it only has homing torpedoes. And generally, you're just going to be outclassed by the faster, more maneuverable, better homing and non-homing torpedoes of the Germans. So I wouldn't really recommend the Thrasher. Now, one thing the Thrasher does have better than the rest of the tech tree lines is the fact that the homing torpedoes are better. They have better maneuverability. They track longer than the other nation ships. So for instance, in general, the tracking stops on battleships on a single ping at 3 kilometers, 2 kilometers for cruisers, and 1 kilometer for destroyers. The British have better tracking, so it does better than that. I don't remember the exact distance difference of like how much it is. I just know it's a slightly better tracking, so slightly closer. So they're more likely to hit rather than the standard distance. I don't remember the distance for these torpedoes in particular. It's something that it's really hard to find the information for those. I just remember the all-around statistic for the tracking for torpedoes, since I do try to teach people how to dodge homing torpedoes. But roughly, like if I want to do like an estimate, I think it's like 2.5 for battleships, like maybe 1.5 for cruisers, and like 0.7 or 0.6 for DDs. It could be like roughly around there. If someone knows the exact number in the comments, I would greatly appreciate to know that. But yes. But anywho, those are my recommendations. Again, I did forget to mention earlier, I did mention I was looking at the St. Vincent, that the Daring line, the Minotaur, and the St. Vincent all have accelerated British acceleration. That means that they speed up really quick. It allows them to dodge incoming shells or dodge torpedoes really well. I did forget to mention that earlier, so I do apologize for that. There's just a lot of like hidden information on these lines that it's kind of hard to cover. But anywho, If you guys have any questions or concerns, or let me know what you guys think of my review on this. And thank you all for watching, and I will talk to you all later.